So, welcome again, and we continue on stanza number 25th of the 8th chapter, Bodhicharyavatara. So, we talked about, we are going through the, one of the main facilities or main environment through which meditation happens. Meditation, the shamatha meditation, which brings our mind peace and tranquility happens, and that is creating the solitude. And here, one of the main thing is to lessen our attachment, attachment to things, attachment to people, attachment to activities, and all sorts of activities, and running after and running away from things in our mind or in our body. So that's creating that kind of environment. So now we come to this, the praising the solitude place where it is quiet, the nature, because if you look into the history, most of the enlightened people, most of the great spiritual masters kind of attained their spiritual achievements or in solitude, either in the forest, under a tree, like a Buddha, or in the mountains, or deserts, or some solitude place in the caves and things like that. And that's because then you have no distraction, and especially, of course, just being in solitude place is not enough. You have to allow your mind to be equally in solitude. But if you can do that, that solitude place is a source of great, peace, and very near to be in nature, and undistracted, and not attached to things. So therefore it says, in woodlands, haunt of stag and bird, among the trees where no dissension jars, it's there I would keep pleasant company. When might I be off to make my dwelling there? To admire the solitude, the natural, place, the forests, mountains, seaside, where there are not many human beings. There are only birds and wild animals like stags or deers and rabbits and all kind of wild animals roaming, freely. Birds singing among the trees. Where there is, it is such a undisturbing company, the company of these wild animals. So you kind of admiring that solitude place, admiring those kind of places, is itself a kind of way of admiring that actually in a way indicates my willingness to be free from all these attachments and distractions also. So therefore, to have nowadays, of course there are lots of solitude places, whether it is at the moment, possible for you to be in that kind of solitude place or not, that's another thing and another situation. It is not also necessarily saying that we should not understand that we cannot meditate unless we have this solitude place. Now this this is, I must say this, because some people think that, at the moment I cannot meditate because I can't go to the solitude place and I can't go to the caves and I can't go in the forest, and so therefore I can't meditate. That's another, what do you call it? Just finding what can you say? Just finding an excuse. That's just an excuse. So always people, when I retire, then I go to the solitude and then I meditate. That's not the idea. That should not be the case. It's not that we cannot meditate unless we find a place like that. That's not the case. But, of course, meditating or practicing or being in the solitude place is extremely good, and it is also, when we go into a solitude place, naturally our mind becomes more peaceful. You will, everybody will feel it. You go to the forest, and immediately you find more, in peace, more, kind of relaxed. Seaside, unless there is a beach and too many people, in the mountains, in the forest, in the meadows. I have never been too much in the deserts, but people say it's same in the desert also. Maybe in the sea also. Many people like to sail in the sea or lakes and things like that. Water has also that effect. So that's why it is said like this. The Tibetan stanza translation is Nana Rida Shanam Hina Mani Jumesh Runa Deva Terato Namji Nechi Da Natures. Then the place Pukam Lagon Tombato Tombam Junhi Tona Nechit Namshi Jatumakashi Chapame Panjahik Sashu Dagar Zomepa Ronjin Yonams Ronshuchi Chomepa Namshi Dona Nebrangers. So these two stanzas. When shall I depart to make my home? In cave or empty shrine or under spreading tree, with in my breast a free, unfettered heart, which never turns to cast a backward glance. This talking about, renunciation also here. When you have this kind of clear renunciation, clear longing to be free, to not to be attached to anything, not to be, kind of engaged in both a golden cage as well as iron cage. Golden cage is when everything is good and everything is right, and there are lots of luxuries, and there's lots of progress, and there's lots of activities, and there's lots of success, and there's lots of... That's a golden cage also, Of course, basically it depends on your mind. If you are not attached to things, then it's not a cage. But if you are attached, and it is more likely that you get attached to these things, because we are all human beings, we are all samsaric beings. But anyway, this is kind of when shall I depart to make my home? In a cave, empty shrine, under spreading trees, just in the forest. In my breast, a free, unfettered heart. There is no fetter, no chains, no cage. Means free from craving, free from attachment, free from desire. Then which never turn to cast a backward glance. I don't have to kind of look into the past or into the future. You are not attached to the past or not attached to the future, so therefore your mind is free. When might I abide in such a place? These and other places also, a place unclaimed and ownerless. Nowadays, it's very hard to find an unclaimed place, an ownerless place. But there used to be a lot. Say now, like in Tibet, it was all the mountains. Nobody had any ownership. All the forest, nobody had the ownership. All the caves, most of them had no ownership. So you could stay anywhere you liked. You can do whatever you like. In those places, you are totally free. And you don't have to pay anything. Nobody will restrict you about you can stay there or you cannot stay there, or you can go there, you cannot go there at that time. Unclaimed, ownerless. That's wide and unconfined. It's very free, wide, and not confined in a small kind of area or a small kind of restrictions, lots of restrictions, no restrictions. A place where I might stay at liberty without attachment, this kind of... if you are in that kind of a place, it also gives the same, impact on your mind, free, boundless, limitless, spacious, So, this kind of, those kind of places are the places where, most of the great masters, spend their time. In Tibet also, and a long time ago in India also, and even now sometimes, even in the Himalayas, you find many kind of secret yogis, Mingyur Rinpoche told me that there are so many secret yogis, staying at different places in the Himalayas, in small places, in huts, in caves, just like totally, unknown to the people, There are lots of like that, lots of great masters even now. Maybe, it's more difficult for people in the West, because if you do some years of retreat, then you have to write a book about your experience and become famous, and then say something that, claiming that nobody did it before you or something like that. It's not that kind of a thing, but just genuinely wishing to find peace and happiness and, and enjoy in the liberate your mind. Then when might I be free of fear without the need to hide from anyone, with just a begging bowl and few belongings, dressed in garments coveted by none? So this is the most important, the Tibetan translation is loze la zu nye se to kalam nung ki kunchung ki luna bawa ma je chun jeme ne pa nam xin jurus. So in Tibetan this is kind of upside down, dressed in garments coveted by none, with just a begging bowl and few belongings, without the need to hide from anyone. When might I be free of fear? So when can I be in this kind of a free of any fear? Free, my mind free of aversion, attachment. That's the most important. Fear, without attachment, without expectation, then only you have true solitude, true solitude of the mind. And for that, then, less you need, the more you need, the more you want, the more you have craving, the more your activities, the more your attachment, the more, so the desire, the greed has no limit. So therefore, if you can just, just content with the minimum needs, then actually we don't need that much. And that much we become free, because just a little bit of dress that will keep us warm, but not so kind of designed or anything like that, or that people want it from you, or people want to take it away from you, or you are afraid that you will lose. Not like that. And then some simple things like a begging bowl, or very minimum needs of food and materials that and then you don't have. That's why you don't have to hide from anything. You don't want to make up, or you don't have to kind of pretend to be anything. So you are totally free. And when that kind of attitude or a state of mind happens, it's not that you have to only wear the most kind of bad dresses, or you have to be unclean, or you have to have nothing, you have to be extremely poor. It's not necessarily like that, but you are contented, you don't need too much, you are not running after something, whether it's your material, your attachment to the people, or attachment to a name or fame, or any kind of those things. Then you have solitude, and these are very much connected with meditation, because the more you have that, the more your mind is free, the more you have peace of mind, the more you have contentment, the less worries you have, the less anxiety you have, the more freedom you have, and therefore you have peace of mind, tranquility, no fear, no clinging, no attachment. Okay, this is stanza number 28, so I stop here. Thank you.